Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl T and I'm back with another video. So guys, in today's video I'm going to be showing you guys how to cut a female trouser with a fly zipper. So if that's something you're interested in watching, do make sure to keep watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on your post notifications so you don't miss out on our future videos. And without further ado guys, let's get into the video. So I already have my fabric folded in two because I'm going to start by cutting the front piece of the trouser first before cutting out the back piece. So the first thing I'm going to be doing now will be to mark out the length of the trouser. So for my trouser, the length of this trouser is 41, but then this trouser is going to have a band. It's going to be 1.5 inches. So I'm going to be marking out 1.5 inches. But then if you see, I didn't mark the 1.5 inches at the top here. So the mark 1.5 inches is going to be ½ inch in. So let me just mark ½ inch here. And this ½ inch here is going to serve as a guide. It's going to be the allowance to join the trouser and the band together. So here from there I'm going to place in the 1.5 inch band and then go ahead to mark out the length of the trouser, which is 41. Yeah, and I'm going to join a straight line here. From these 41 inches here, I'm going to be adding 3-inch allowance, which is going to serve as the folding allowance of the trouser. 3 inches allowance here. Yeah, this trouser is going to be a pencil trouser, so I want this trouser to be fitted on me. Yeah, so the next thing I'm going to go ahead now to do will be to mark out my crotch line. So yeah, to get your crotch line, you're going to be dividing your hip measurement by 4. So my hip measurement is 36. Divided by 4 gives me 9. So from this line here, I'm going to be marking out 9 inches. So 9 inches here gives me my crotch line. That's 36 divided by 4. So you can take note that for the crotch line, I didn't come out by that 1.5 inches. That is, I didn't place it here and then measure the 9. No, you just measure it from your waistline. So forgetting about the 1.5 inch allowance you took off. So but then to measure your knee line, you're going to be placing it at that 1.5 inch there and then measuring your knee line. So for mine it's 22. I'm going to be marking out 22 here. This here is our crotch line, our knee line, then the full length of the trouser. So yeah, so this is the crotch line. So to get your actual crotch line, I'm going to make use of my hip measurement now. So my hip measurement is 36, like I said. So divided by 4 gives me 9. I'm going to be marking out 9 inches here. So from this, the end point here, I'm marking 9 inches here and 9 inch on the waistline here, so that it gives me a perfect straight line. And then I'm just going to go ahead and join the both marked points together, so like so. And then from the crotch line here, I'm going to mark in 2 inches upwards, which is going to give me my hip line. So now to get your actual crotch, that's that curved part here, the next thing I'm going to be doing is this. So since here is measuring 9 inches, I'm going to be dividing it by 4. So folding my tape in this way and then folding it in this way also. So it's kind of 2.25, almost 2.5. So I'm just going to go ahead now and add extra 2.5 inch here. So yeah, so all in all giving me 11.5 inches. Yeah. So now to create my crotch here, I'm going to be coming up by 1 inch here. So you can do this freehand or you can do this with your curve. So I'm just going to be doing this freehand because of those that might not be having curves. Just this way and then connecting it to the hip line here. So just connecting it to your hip line like so. So now I'm just going to go ahead now to measure here to here 1.5 inches. I'm going to be marking 11.5 inches at all points. So now that I'm done marking out 11.5 inches, I'm going to go ahead now and mark out the midpoint of 11.5, which gives me almost 6 inches. So I'm going to be marking out 6 inches, or kind of 5.25, 5.75, sorry. So 5.75, 5.75 at all points, and 5.75 at this point also. Now I'm just going to go ahead now and join all these points with a straight line using my tape. So now that I'm done marking 5.75, that's been the midpoint of my total measurement. So now I'm just going to be going ahead to insert my knee measurement and then my ankle measurement down there. So my knee measurement is 15. So I'll be dividing this 15 by 4. So 15 divided by 4, making use of my tape. Me 3.75. So I'm just going to make use of 4. So I'm marking 4 on both sides. And then for my ankle measurement is 12. So also divided by 4 also, kind of give me 3. Gives me 3 inches. So I'm going to mark in 3 inches also on both sides. So yeah, like I said, I want this trouser to be like a pencil trouser. I want it to be fitted on me. So what I'm going to be doing now is that I'm going to be coming up by 5 inches here from the actual measurement, not from the allowance we give, from the actual full length. I'm going to coming up by 5 inches, and yeah, that part is going to be perfectly straight. So at this point, I'm also going to be marking out my ankle measurement there. So 3 here and 3 here also. So now I'm just going to go ahead now and join this together with a straight line here, and this part also. So I'm just going to be extending it to the allowance we gave to fold. And now I'm just going to go ahead now and join it this way and this side also. So now that I'm done with this, I'm also going to go ahead and join these parts to this part and here to my crotch line here. And then this part to my crotch line there. Now that I'm done with this, I'm going to come ahead and work on the top part of the trouser. So yeah, like our trouser is already taking shape, like it's looking already beautiful already. So yeah, so since this is my hip line here, measuring line, which is my actual hip line, I'm going to head over to my waistline here and mark out my waist measurement. So my waist measurement is 26 divided by 4 gives me 6.5. But then I'm going to be adding half-inch allowance for the dart, because we're going to have a dart in front and in back. So I'm going to add half-inch allowance for the dart, which gives me 7. So yeah, but then if you take note of my tutorials on how to cut skirts and like any measurement that has hip, for my hip line I do go 2 inches up and 2 inches down. So yeah, 2 inches down already gives me my crotch line, so 2 inches up is going to be marked out here. So this part here is going to be perfectly straight, and then I'm going to be connecting this to this part like so. So it's going to be something like this. So I'm going to be connecting this to this part. So the reason why I'm not making use of a French curve or any instrument in this tutorial is because of those that might not have that in hand. So you can also be able to see that you can do this with your free hand. You mustn't have a sketch material or anything. So I'm just going to join it like so. Yeah, so this part right here, I'm going to be giving a notch here, which is going to serve as dart. This is where we're going to be inserting our dart. So you can go ahead to just mark out the dart so you get what I mean. So for that, I'm not going to mark in half. I'm going to mark in like quarter on both sides, so that all together is measuring half. And then I'm going to come in down by 4 inches here, and then joining it together like so. So yeah, this right here is going to serve as our dart point. So yeah, the next thing we're going to be doing for this front pattern now will be to come down at this waistline here by 1 inch, and then I'm going to be joining it like so. Yeah, so basically that's it for our front pattern. I'm just going to go ahead now and cut it out. So this is how the front pattern was looking after I was done cutting it out. I'm just going to go ahead now and place this to cut the back pattern of this trouser. So now to cut the back pattern, I've already placed the front pattern of this trouser onto a fresh fabric. So yeah, and when doing this, you must ensure that your the back pattern is 1.5 inch longer than the front pattern. So yeah, this measurement here depends on how thick you are. So yeah, for someone that is thicker than me, you can make use of 2, but since I'm not so thick, yeah, I'm going to make use of 1.5 inch. So it's going to be 1.5 inches higher than the front pattern. And also, when measuring our crotch line here, we added 2.5 inch here. So now the allowance that we're going to be adding to this trouser is also going to be measuring 2.5 inch. So I'm going to measure in 2.5 inches here, and then train a straight line that corresponds to the crotch line on the front pattern. So we're going to be making use of that. Yeah, and also I'll be adding 2.5 inches to the knee line also, and to the full length, and also to the allowance here. So basically, yeah, that's it. I'm going to go ahead now and join these parts together. For the back part now, from this part here, I'm going to be coming down by 1/2 inch. So from that 1/2 inch now, I'm just going to be drawing a line here that just kind of crosses at this point. So before I do that, I'm going to mark out my 1.5 inch that I talked about earlier. So marking it out here. Yeah. So now I'm just going to draw a line from this part that kind of crosses at this part, like exactly crosses like so. So just draw a free hand over here with your cuff, so something like this, and then I'm going to be slanting this waistline here. So but one thing you should know is that when cutting this back pattern out, at this part here, I'm going to be adding 1 inch. So yeah, it's not going to be flowing the same pattern that the front pattern followed, as from my waistline to my hip line. It's going to be having extra 1 inch here. So this part here is going to be connected to my hip line here. Just basically what you see me do here. So now I'm just going to be connecting it from the knee line here to this crotch line here. So basically that's it for the back pattern. I'm just going to go ahead now and cut it out. So yeah, this part is basically the same thing. Just make use of a scissors and cut it out, basically the same thing. So this is it for the back pattern. This is how it's looking like it's looking so good already. So yeah, this trouser is going to have pockets and also have a fly zipper and also have a band. So I'm going to, that's the next thing we're going to be cutting now. So yeah, to know the length of the material I need for the zipper, I'm just going to make use of my tape to measure the length from this part here to this hip line here. So that's where the zip is going to be stopping. So yes, measuring 6.5. So I'm going to be measuring it out to be 7, so that when I have sewed it, it comes back to 6.5. Remember this part that we cut out from the crotch line of the front. I'm just going to mark it out to be 7. And then I want it to be 2 inches wide, but then I'm going to mark it out to be 2.5. So this does not really have like a perfect measurement per se. So just kind of curve it like so. So for the zipper, this is right here, having this in this shape, and also just having this straight joint 7 by 2 inches. For the band, I just have a piece of fabric measuring 4 inches, because when I'm folding it's going to become 2, and then when it's sewn by 1/2 inches, leave out 1.5, which we said we needed for our band from the beginning. So yeah, you can see that the band is kind of separated. That's because it's not really enough. So I'm just going to be joining it like so. And also for the pocketing, the fabric wasn't enough. So yeah, for the pocketing, you need a fabric measuring 14 by 14 by 14. So yeah, since the fabric wasn't enough, I just patched the material by the side. That's the part that's just going to show through the trouser. So now I'm just going to go ahead now and cut out the pockets first. So here to cut the pockets, the first thing I'm going to go ahead to do now is that I'm going to be placing it like so, since this is the part that's going to be showing through the trouser, and cut it out. So now the next thing we to go ahead and cut out the pocket itself. Here for the pocket, I want mine to be 7 inches deep, and then I'm going to open it to be 2 inches wide. So I'm just going to go ahead now and connect it like so. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead now and cut it out on the fabric alone, aside from the pocket parts. So when I've cut it like so, I'm going to come ahead now and cut it at the other side. So yeah, basically now we're done with cutting the pocketings. So that's it for today's video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, make sure your notification bells are turned on so you don't miss out on the video of me sewing the trouser itself. You can do also go check the video up on our channel on how we made the top that I paired the trouser up with. Thank you guys for watching. Bye bye, and see you in my next video. Say what you